All right, here we go. Welcome here. It's great to have you on this wonderful Monday evening. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. I've been having technical difficulties all night. Um, so, but we're right in the thick of things now, Dalton. Again, can you hear me now? I have
Yeah,
no idea.
I can hear you. Your voice sounds a little hoarse, but I can hear you.
I'm definitely hoarse. Listen. I've been, for those of you, like I said, if you don't know me, I have been in the process of becoming an elementary school teacher for the last several years. So since my student observations have started this semester, I have been in a room full of 7-year-olds, which is something my body is not used to, and I catch every germ known to man, and that's just how it is right now. So it's a little tough, but it's great to have you here. We are in the thick of the World Series, and that's what we play all this for. So, and we're going to make this quick. This is not going to be a full fleshed out. Obviously, if you are a follower of the show, you're a regular follower of the show. We are here about an hour early, simply because we couldn't dare possibly be on the air at the same time as a World Series game. So, Dalton, it's obviously. It's great to have you here, obviously, as the regular on this program and our resident Dodger fan. How you feeling tonight?
Nervous, excited. There's a lot to talk about from those first two games. Certainly very interesting series so far. 1-1 makes it for a very compelling series for a neutral baseball fan. I've got a lot of thoughts. I'm excited to get into them. Excited to talk about tonight and tomorrow's games, and hopefully the Dodgers can pull it out. But there's a lot of reason that they will, and a lot of reasons that they won't.
So listen, man, let's begin the program. Usually we start with rants and everything like that. We start with the Dodger rant. We start with the Yankee rant, something along those lines, and but the Yankees have been out of the picture for a few weeks now, so let's just not even get into that. Let's start with, before we get into tonight's game and the rest of the series, let's talk about how the series has gone over the past two games. Obviously, the Blue Jays came out firing in game one. Blake Snell got lit up. Emmett Sheehan got lit up a little bit. Like, you just kind of, I think that kind of gave a little bit of a scare to a lot of Dodger fans of just like, oh my God, like what kind of buzzsaw did we run into? But things started to sort of collect itself in game two. But Dalton, I texted you after game one and was just like it was simple. I was just like, oh my God, like what the hell? And you were just like, well, listen, here's what, there was no panic there, I don't think.
No.
So tell me what you were feeling after game one and then heading into game two, and how you feel now.
Yeah, so I'll start by just, kind of walking through my general thoughts on game one and what happened there and why I wasn't particularly incensed or panicked. Look, the Blue Jays are good. And I thought in game one, they had a perfect game plan. Blake Snell. They executed it to perfection, and they got into our shaky bullpen early. I mean, the script they followed in game one is the same script that the Phillies wanted to follow in every game. It's the same script that the Brewers wanted to follow in every game. They were just the first team that actually managed to really do it. I mean, the Phillies did it a little bit in game three. The one game that they won against the Dodgers. And you'll notice, Mike, when the Dodgers lose in the postseason, it's usually a blowout. Our loss to the Phillies in the NLDS was, I think, 8-2. Our loss to the Yankees in the World Series was like 1,000,000-0. We lost a game to the Mets in the NLCS last year by a lot. We lost, I think, a 10-1 game to the Padres last year in the NLDS. This is like the way these games typically go for the Dodgers in the postseason is either it's, we're kind of grinding the opponent down, playing our game and just squeezing the life out of them, or they kind of pop off and the Dodgers just kind of say, okay, take this one. And that was a little bit of what happened in game one. Not so much the same way as last year, but to kind of take it from the top, I think from the first inning, you could tell Toronto was putting really good at bats on Snell. They weren't squaring him up necessarily right off the bat, but they were putting really good at bats on him, forcing him into the zone, which when the Dodgers faced Blake Snell in the postseason when he was a Padre and when he was a Ray, you could probably look back on my tweets from those days, and what you would see is me screaming at the Dodgers to take pitches, to make him come into the zone. And the Blue Jays did that really well. Blake Snell's a guy who's effectively wild. I thought even given that and him not having his best stuff, I thought he competed well. He got us into the sixth inning in a 2-2 ball game. And in the sixth inning, he ran out of gas. And I thought he got pulled at the right time, bases loaded. He clearly was not the guy to keep pushing that game forward. The problem for the Dodgers is they don't have any good options. I mean, Alex Vesia was arguably our only guy that we've kind of been relying on. I mean, between him and Roki, that's about it. I mean, that was kind of the trust tree right there. Well, Vesia is out of this series for very serious personal reasons, and I'm obviously praying for his family. And I don't want to get into it, but those who have been following along his family, there's a sense of something pretty terrible that might have happened there. So obviously we're hoping for the best for him, but the reality is Vesia not being around puts you in a situation where there's not any good choices there. And Emmett Sheehan, as much as he was a dominant starter for the second half of the regular season,
much the same way as last year, but I don't want to get into it, but those who
okay. Sorry, I could hear myself there for a second. As much as Sheehan was dominant in the second half of the regular season, this is not a guy who has a lot of experience coming out of the bullpen. And this is not a guy that you want in that spot. He just didn't have any choices. And he came in, to his credit, he threw strikes. He just got hit. And before you knew it, it was 5-2. Before you knew it, Barger was homering off of Bonda to make it 9-2. Kirk was homering to make it 11-2. And Mike, you might remember last week before the series started, one thing I told you is I said, look, the way the Dodgers lose games in the World Series is if they just have things are going to unravel quickly in the game that they're going to lose. That's what that was in game one. And so I didn't come away from that game pissed off or terrified. I came away from that game feeling like, okay, if the Blue Jays can put together at bats like that 4 games in a row, we're going to get swept. I don't think they will because we have really good pitching, but Blue Jays outplayed us in game one. They really did. I give them a ton of credit for it. So, interested to hear what your thoughts were coming out of that game, and then we'll jump into game two also. But
yeah, I'm still somewhat dealing with these ridiculous technical difficulties now because that entire thing that you just said, you were going in and out and in and out and in and out. So I'm trying to figure all of this out. So Dalton, if you don't mind, I hate putting you on the spot, but I feel like on a subject matter like this, you might be able to carry a little bit.
Sure, I'm happy to.
At least for the next couple minutes, just so that I can keep going here. Let me at least give you some sort of a prompt that you could work with. So, and again, whether or not you touched on all of this already, it's just going to be completely blind to me. I'm sorry, but let's just real quick, and then we can dive back into it as we'll dive back into what we saw in the first 2 games, but kind of just give us an idea of how you feel the rest of the series could go based on what you've seen. And as you're doing that, I will be trying to figure out what is going on my end so that I can actually contribute to this podcast of any sort of kind.
Do your thing, man. I could talk for a while. I've obviously been very invested with this. So coming out of game one, right, there's this feeling of, okay, like that happened, right? I mean, I think that's exactly what I texted you and what I tweeted as I was like, look, that happened. Blue Jays came out, put together immaculate at bats for a whole game. Snell wasn't perfect. They got to our bullpen. It is what it is. Thankfully, because that game got out of hand so quick, we were able to turn to Justin Robleski and turn to Will Klein and eat innings with some of those guys. I also felt going into game 2, like Yamamoto's a very different animal than Blake Snell. Snell's a guy that relies on chase, kind of pitches around the sides of the zone, very much is effectively wild. Yamamoto's not effectively wild. He throws all 6 of his pitches for strikes. He's pinpoint, and he's going to make you hit him. It's part of what makes him really good. And, I mean, look, even with Yoshi, I thought the Blue Jays put some good at-bats on him early, forced him to be perfect, but he's been perfect for a while. And, obviously 20 consecutive outs for him to finish a complete game in that spot. It's hard to define just how massive that was for the Dodgers, to go in there and kind of just restore order, if you will. I thought the Dodgers at bats, oddly enough, were actually better in game 1 against Savage than they were in game 2 against Gaussman. That was kind of my one gripe, is I felt in game 2 against Gaussman, the Dodgers were clearly chasing the splitter, right? And they were getting kind of caught in between the splitter and the fastball. To me, I understand that he changed the way he was pitching a little bit, but you get a couple innings into that ball game, and you can see that he's leaning fastball a lot more than usual. You need to change your approach, sit on the fastball, and react to the splitter. And I didn't think the Dodgers did that well enough. I thought that they got caught in between. Gaussman was really effective, which contributes to that. But multiple opportunities to blow that game open early, didn't really do it. Same thing in game 1. The Dodgers had opportunities to blow game open early, didn't really do it. Eventually, Will Smith and Max Muncy hit those solo home runs. I was breathing a sigh of relief because Yoshi was in that mode where you just knew he wasn't giving up anything and this was over. So I think it's fair. There are 2 ways of looking at this offensively for the Dodgers. Okay. One way of looking at it is this entire postseason outside of those 2 games against the Reds, the offense just really hasn't been great. They've been just eking out 3, 4, 5 runs and dominating on the pitching side.
Right.
I do think there's going to come a game or 2 in this series where you're going to have to be better offensively than they've been. We also know what the talent level is on their offense. And the fact that they're 11-2 in this postseason, 10-2 in this postseason, despite not having really any offensively great games since the Red Series, tells me that, like, at some point they're pretty due to wake up. And it wouldn't surprise me if that happened tonight against Scherzer, who had an ERA over 10 over the last 2 months of the regular season. Now, he looked good against the Mariners. It wasn't on the roster against the Yankees. Looked good against the Mariners. But this is going to be a big challenge for him tonight. I would like to see our offense get off to a good start. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. Like, this is a guy who's pitched in a lot of postseason games. This is a guy who's pitched well in this postseason already. He had a decent outing against the Dodgers in the regular season. I think he's going to come out with the absolute best of what he has left. The key for Glasnow tonight is just going to be, can you pound the zone? Like, we've seen with this Blue Jays team that the effectively wild and relying on stuff is not how you beat them. Like, if Glasnow is if he's landing his curveball for strikes and he's at least giving me his fastball in quadrants or in thirds, I think he'll be good enough that he'll pitch well. If he's not, tonight's the night where I need that bullpen going early. I need Clayton Kershaw and or Emmett Sheehan getting hot to start a clean inning in even the second, third, or fourth if necessary, because I trust Shohei Ohtani to be in the zone in game 4. But Snell and Glasnow are the 2 pitchers that I'm a little bit more worried about here than the others. But look, at the end of the day, you took one of the 2 in Toronto. Now you get to come home and play 3. Glasnow Scherzer's a matchup that's advantage Dodgers. Ohtani Bieber's a matchup that's advantage Dodgers. I mean, these are 2 veteran righties you're facing who have had great careers, but are not necessarily that guy now. You've got to come out and produce. So, I'm excited. At this point, I think it's pretty likely this series goes 6. I'd be surprised if we took all 3 at home, just given their ability to push into our bullpen. But we have another Yamamoto start in hand if necessary. I think if this gets to a game 7 where you're going to have Glasnow and Ohtani available, you'd have Glasnow starting that game. You'd have Ohtani available out of the bullpen, probably Snell willing to pitch an inning or two out of the bullpen. And then you've got Sasaki. I mean, they're all hands on deck in a game 7. This staff's going to be really tough to beat. I'm hoping it doesn't get there. I'd like to see us get this done in 5 or 6, but sorry, Mike. I know I've been filibustering for a while.
No.
The general thing was, hey, game 1, we've taken that punch a few times over the last couple of years. It's going to happen sometimes with our bullpen the way it is. Game 2 looked a lot like the Brewers series and what we've done throughout this playoffs. We'll see what we get moving forward.
Yeah. So glad to be back, by the way. It's I heard that whole thing. That was great. So thank you for carrying me for the first 20 minutes of this program. We talked about, you talked about how, the Blue Jays have a couple of veteran righties coming up in the next couple of games where Max Scherzer has had a lot of experience in a lot of big games, but he isn't necessarily that guy anymore. Shane Bieber is sort of the same story, not as much obviously as Scherzer has, but he's had a lot of success as well. My real, and I think the Dodgers, and I've held steady on this whole opinion to begin with, but I think the Dodgers have a fairly hefty advantage in almost every pitching matchup they have in this series, just as an overall matchup in this series as a whole, given all things, all factors. The thing that I think gives the Blue Jays a shot here, outside of the fact that what they can do on the offensive side is put pressure on defenses, work counts, they don't chase, right? This is a team that puts the ball in play a lot. So outside of that perspective is Max Scherzer wasn't great this season for them. He's at the tail end of his career, right? Last 2 months of the year, he was really, really bad. But for one game, can he be Max Scherzer in the World Series, right? For one game, can Shane Bieber be Shane Bieber in the World Series? That's the sort of idea that gets me thinking, well, yeah, over the long stretch of the season, they're not going to be who they were. But can they be that guy for one game? Because I think they're capable of doing that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that's what the Blue Jays are banking on, right? And Shane Bieber has looked pretty good. Shane Bieber, I would argue right now is their best starting pitcher out of the 4. Gausman, you can make an argument for as well, but Bieber's been really good. Look, Scherzer faced the Dodgers back in August and threw 6 innings of 2-run ball. He picked up the loss, but not because he wasn't good. Kershaw was a bit better than he was, but he pitched really well when he faced us earlier this season at Dodger Stadium. So he's comfortable in that environment. He's faced that environment in the playoffs before, both on the Dodgers side and on the other side. So there's going to be no rattle factor for Scherzer tonight. I think part of what gives me some confidence is that Phillies series, the Dodgers face tough lefty after tough lefty, right? It was a lot of Christopher Sanchez, a lot of Ranger Suarez, a lot of Jesus Luzardo. Not great matchups for the Dodgers. In that Brewers series, all of a sudden you got to look at a couple righties. And sure enough, we hit Freddie Peralta a bit. The Brewers had to get real creative to get out to the series. The part of what I think gives me confidence is the Blue Jays don't Shohei's showing signs of heating up. He homered 3 times, obviously, in the final game of the NLCS. Homered again in game 1 of this series, doubled in game 2. He's clearly starting to find it. And if you're the Blue Jays, it's who to go to attack him. It's Fluharty. It's Eric Lauer, maybe. I think if you're the Blue Jays, I think the way you win is still, can you knock the Dodgers starting pitching out of the game? Because I think inevitably we're going to push across somewhere between 3 and 6 runs tonight. So what it's going to come down to is, does Tyler Glasnow walk 3 or 4 hitters, not have it, get knocked out of this game in 4 1/3, and all of a sudden we're asking a bullpen that's been bad to cover 5 or 6 innings. If that's where we end up tonight, the Blue Jays are going to score 8 or 9 runs, and we're going to probably lose. If Glasnow gives us 6 innings, 1 or 2 runs, I think we'll win that game. So it sounds reductionist, but to me, it's really simple. You'll know, like the Dodgers are either going to. I'll put it this way: I would guess the Dodgers either win this game 5-2, or they lose the game 8-4, 8-5. I think I don't think there's a scenario where we're losing a 2-1 ball game. I just don't. I don't think there's a real scenario where we're winning a 9-8 ball game. So that's kind of what I see. But really, if Glasnow's not throwing strikes early, that's where I'll start to get nervous.
Yeah. I mean, and Glasnow, he's had a little bit of an issue with walks in this postseason, a little bit, but he's been very good. I mean, his ERA in the postseason is .68. I mean, he's been very, very good in the postseason. So, like I said, I think as far as pitching matchups go, I think the Dodgers have the advantage in that. The way the Blue Jays are swinging the bats right now, I think that matchup between offenses, I mean, I think you could almost split hairs on any given night. It's almost like a matchup type basis. So it's listen. I never give the Blue Jays any credit over the regular season just because I hate them, and I don't know, they seem to be, the big issue with them was similar to how we felt about the Mets all year long, was going to be, is their starting pitching going to hold up? What were they going to do to improve their roster? We kind of knew what they could be offensively, right, with Guerrero and Springer and Bichette and Kirk and all those guys. We kind of understood that, but could they actually compete in a playoff series against teams like the Yankees and teams like the Mariners, who had really strong rotations going into the postseason? And they seem to have proved that. I mean, they seem to have been able to overcome that, and that's, that leaves them to where they are here. Listen, I just think the Dodgers, here's where I think the Dodgers get into a lot of trouble, is the Dodgers have to, and I'm curious to know if you have this same feeling. I almost feel like the Dodgers have to win 2 at home. And that almost might seem a little bit redundant in the sense of you don't want to go into Toronto needing to win both. But I feel like they have to, the Blue Jays are very, very good at home. They are very good at the Rogers Center, and they feed off the energy in that building. I almost feel like this home stretch of games for the Dodgers, they have to treat this almost like, the way you would look at a late regular season 3-game series where you got to win 2 out of 3, right? You can't. I might be babbling a little bit, but I think you kind of understand where I'm going.
I get where you're coming from, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I don't really. I'm not putting a ton of stock in home field. Just if I'm being real with you, I just don't think that it's a huge deal for the Dodgers. Just because they're such an old team that's played in so many environments. They went into Philly and won 2 games. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think the Dodgers can handle themselves in those environments. And to me, game 1 didn't feel like the environment getting to the Dodgers. It just felt like they faced a team that put together perfect at bats. And that version of the Blue Jays is beating anybody. And that's okay. I mean, there's a version of the Dodgers that beats anybody too, namely when you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto pinpointing, he throws that complete game against anybody in the league the other night. He was that good. And so I think we've so far in this series, we've seen each team win a game that they wouldn't lose to anybody because they just did their thing. Right.
Yeah.
I think we almost haven't learned a lot yet. My concern is this game tonight, in the sense that if Glasnow is bad and the game gets away from you early and you have to cover a bunch of innings with your bullpen, with games on deck tomorrow and Wednesday,
Yeah.
that's where you can start to get a tax on the Dodgers that kind of compounds itself and can run them out of a series. So glad, I was talking with some friends about this. I would have started Ohtani tonight. I think Ohtani is going to pitch better against the Blue Jays than Glasnow. I think he's just a better fit for that lineup. But it's hard to argue with what Glasnow has done in this postseason so far. So hopefully that continues. Yeah, Mike, I mean, I'm nervous, but I was nervous against Milwaukee. I was nervous against Philly. I'll be nervous for the rest of this series.
You weren't nervous against the Reds? Really? No, you weren't. No nerves against the Reds?
I think, I was, in the sense that, you lose 2 games and your season's over. But the Dodgers pounced on them pretty early and kind of handled that for me.
They certainly
let me turn a light on in here. I don't know if you noticed, it's been getting dark.
It's I was gonna say it's gotten pretty dark, but
give me a second.
But listen, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens over the next few games. Tristan Reyes, by the way, in the comments section saying, yeah, I think the Dodgers could break through that. They took the second off the Jays after a loss, so the crowd would, in theory, be more raucous. And yeah, that's definitely true. I just, I have trauma when it comes to experiencing the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. And we've talked about it at length, Dalton, that the Blue Jays are the kind of team that just sort of ambushes you. You know what I mean? I don't often, I shouldn't say I don't often, but it seems like when they do win, they win 10-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they just kill you. They punch you in the face, right? I mean, it was evident in game 1 of this series. They scored 9 runs in the 6th inning, and that was just like, all right, on to game 2. Like, game was over halfway through. So it's interesting the way that they've been able to handle business in this postseason. Yamamoto was incredible in game 2. I didn't get a chance to really speak on that. That was the guy I wish we could have, that's what I wanted the Yankees to see. Right? I wish this guy didn't grow up a lifelong Dodger fan with Ohtani as his best buddy so that he could be wearing Yankee pinstripes instead. But that looked like the highest paid pitcher in baseball. That did. He was
really
look,
he's gonna finish maybe 3rd in Cy Young voting.
Probably, yeah.
And this is who he was last year too. He wasn't throwing complete games, but game 2 against the Yankees, you remember 6 innings, 1 hit.
I know.
When he's on, he just misses bats. Because all the stuff's nasty and he puts it exactly where he wants to. The other thing that I want to comment on with regards to this series potentially shifting back to Toronto.
Yeah.
You think about how the pitching lines up. You're looking at Glasnow, and then you're looking at Ohtani, and then in game 5, you're looking at Snell.
Yeah.
Part of why I feel relatively good is that even if you win only one of those 3, you go back to Toronto and you say, hey, Yoshi, game 6, go pitch on that mound you already dominated on.
Right.
And if Yamamoto pitches well again in game 6, which why would we not think that he would at this point? Right. Then you go into a game 7 where at that point, it's all hands on deck. At that point, Glasnow starts the game, but Ohtani's available for multiple innings out of the pen. Blake Snell's probably available for multiple innings out of the pen. Clayton Kershaw's available. Roki Sasaki's available probably for 3 or 4 innings if necessary, right? You're going into a situation where you can lean on them with your pitching in a way that you couldn't in any of the other games because they have to be a little bit careful through the series. But if they get to a game, to me, if we get to a game 6, obviously I'd rather not be down 3-2, right? But if you get to a game 6 down 3-2, we're as live as anybody because you're going Yamamoto and Johnny Holstaff, and that's a hell of a whole staff. So the ideal scenario is you take 2 out of 3 here at home, or you take all three, that'd be cool too, right? But the idea is here, take a 3 here at home, and you go back to Toronto telling Yoshi, hey, go win us a series in game 6, knowing that behind him he's got everybody in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tristan Ray is saying, go throw another complete game, Dave Roberts. But so there's a question in the comment section saying Freeman has seen Scherzer over 50 times. Is he the X factor for the offense tonight? What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to really define that. I mean, look, he bats 208 against Scherzer for his career. Like Scherzer's been really good throughout his career. Certainly the fact that Freeman's seen him a lot, I think, can help. But I go into that, I mean, I think the Dodgers left-handed hitters are a big deal for sure, right? I mean, Ohtani at the top of the lineup, Freeman near the top of the lineup, those guys need to be big. I have a feeling we get some fireworks from Ohtani's bat tonight. Freddie has been just okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a couple hits too. I like our left-handed hitters definitely against Scherzer. But it's not like Freeman has necessarily dominated Scherzer by any means.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like all the looks that he's gotten. I'm hopeful that it helps. But the other thing too, Mike, Andy Pa has finally started to square a couple balls up in game 2.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get Andy Pages to look like regular season Andy Pages as well, that's going to really help flip the lineup over more as well. It just, to me, it felt like in game 1, when you had that bases loaded opportunity where you're already up 2-0, the Dodgers were on the verge of making game 1 like a 5-0 game early in their favor.
Yeah.
Game 2, it felt like you had some similar opportunities a little bit early on in that game also.
Yeah.
I have a feeling one of these games our offense is going to break out and is going to ease us a bit. So hopefully that's tonight.
Well, listen, we'll certainly see it. But hey, listen, we told you we were going to give you a half hour. That's about what we gave you. We're giving you a half hour. Dalton, was there anything anything else that we didn't hit that we need to, or are we about ready to watch baseball tonight?
Well, I'm just going to say a couple words for Dave Roberts tonight in terms of how I want him to manage. Okay. If Tyler Glasnow is struggling, do not let tonight's game get away without trying to pass it to another starter to eat some innings for you. And I don't like whether that's Clayton Kershaw, whether that's Emmett Sheehan, whether that's a multi-inning outing from Justin Robleski, who's quietly been really good. What I don't want to see is Tyler Glasnow being left out there long enough to allow 4 or 5 runs because we're worried about going to our pen early. You have guys in there who can pitch multiple innings. Make them beat 2 of your guys if they're going to knock you out of that game.
Right. Yep.
So that's one big thing that I'm going to be watching for with Dave Roberts tonight. Also, like, if this game's tight late in the game, I need Roki Sasaki for 2 or 3 innings if necessary. Like, I want the Dodgers to manage this game like they need to have it because I think they kind of do.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it'll be an interesting series. And the next time we're here, we will have crowned a new champion. And listen, I almost want the strike to start now, but I don't. I do want. I can't see the Blue Jays win. I can't. It's not good.
I certainly can, Mike. I mean,
no. I'm not saying that I can't see it as like I can't. See
you don't want to see it.
I am like, yeah, I can't for my own well-being. I can't see it. I absolutely can't see it. But listen, we're steamrolling ahead. Next time we're here, we'll be out of baseball to play. We'll be doing off-season stuff in the next couple episodes. It'll be good old fun winter meeting talk again. But first, we have a few more games to get through. So as of Dalton Brown, I am Mike Guido. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network. Every Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern. We have reached it. The end of the season is here. The World Series is upon us. 1-1 headed into the week. Tonight, Scherzer, Glass. Now make sure you tune into that. Turn into all the grid programming. Enjoy the baseball tonight. We'll see you.